Aaron Jaussi, welcome to the Leading Saints podcast.
Thanks for having me, Kurt. Appreciate it.
Now, you are in Payson, Utah. Now, how
Yep.
long have you been in that area?
So in this ward, we've been here for about 4 years. We've been in Payson for a total of 7 years, I
Great.
believe. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. And where were you born and raised?
Born and raised in Riverton, Utah. Actually, both my
Okay.
wife and I grew up there.
Great. So, a big shout out to Sean Ray, who suggested that we connect and talk.
Yeah.
And how do you know Sean?
So I actually know Sean through my older brother. So he and my older brother are best friends. Sean and I have actually probably only met once, I think, but we've been in communication over a few different things over the years. And great guy. He lives down in Southern California, currently in a mission presidency.
Oh, great. Nice.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the Sons of Thunder project. Where did this all begin for you?
Yeah. So it's kind of a leading saint story, actually. So it comes from my dad a long time ago. He's been a longer listener to your podcast than I have been, but
Shout out to your dad. Right.
yeah, he recommended a book to me called Wild at Heart that you've mentioned a few different times,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't think anything of it. I think I got a copy of it, and it kind of sat on the shelf for a while. And then listening to a Leading Saints podcast later on, you had talked. I wish I could remember the exact episode, but you were talking to someone about it. I thought I'd better give it a read, and it really resonated with me. It helped me kind of identify some of the things I was feeling personally in my life, and kind of led me on a journey to pursue, what it means to be a man, what it means for me in my life to be a man and a father and a good husband. Um, and so I spent a few years just really kind of with that on my mind.
Yeah. Now unpack that a little bit more. Like, where were you at this point in your life? How
Yeah.
would you, what resonated about it, or what points came to the surface? How are you experiencing manhood as you read that?
Yeah, so I've always been, like I said, I'm born and raised in the church. Always been pretty active, kind of your typical born and raised in Utah member of the church. I was, I think at the time of reading Wild at Heart, I was married and we had 4 kids. And so really kind of doing your typical stuff, what you would kind of expect someone like me to do. And but when I felt like something was missing, I wasn't reaching that potential. I don't think that's a unique thing to most men, but something wasn't there. I was going to the meetings I was supposed to go to, doing the things I was supposed to do, but really, really with no direction. I was in the current of the church and just kind of going with it. It was a good way to live, and I wasn't unhappy by any means, but really felt like there was more that Heavenly Father had in store for me. And if I just kind of woke up a little bit and had a little more purpose and maybe did a little more searching, put some effort into it, that maybe there would be a greater adventure for me out there, something more I could be for my wife and family and the community.
Yeah. So as you read Wild at Heart, can you think of like the particular principles or points that jumped off the page to you?
Yeah, so really the one that resonated with me is, he has his 3 things: your adventure to live, your battle to fight, and your beauty to rescue. And the thing that resonated to me was that adventure, that there was something that they're doing. I remember the story that resonated with me. It's right at the beginning of the book. He talks about working on or going to spend the summer with his grandpa on his ranch in Eastern Oregon or Washington, something like that. And he he talks about being a young boy and going with his grandpa. And they went to the local farm store, and his grandpa bought him a BB gun and some BBs because he had pigeons on the farm that needed to be taken care of. And he said, I walked in. I'm paraphrasing. He said, I walked into that store, kind of a squirrely little kid, but I walked out as Sheriff Wyatt Earp, ready to take on the town. And it resonated with me in the fact that I think so often, at least in my life, I'd felt like um, maybe any additional responsibility or more going on was some burden that I was obligated to bear, right? I'd made certain covenants, I'd done certain things, and so I was obligated to live a certain kind of life. And it changed that little story changed my perspective to, there's an adventure here. There's something big here that's not just some duty or some obligation, but there's a really cool life to be lived by taking on those responsibilities and
Yeah.
doing those things.
Yeah, because it's really common, right? For as a man, creeps into those adult years and maybe
Yeah,
gets married and starts having kids. There's sort of the shift of like this uber heaviness of a responsibility that needs to be watched over here, and
absolutely.
so we hyper focus
Yeah,
on those responsibilities, and in doing so, we often lose ourselves, and or in other words, we lose the adventure of
yeah,
life and
absolutely.
what fuels us and helps our heart come alive.
It's very true. Very
Yeah.
true in my life. Yeah.
So as you're reading this, I mean, what do you do with that? Like, you think, I mean, how do you, was there the sense of going and finding adventure, or was it like a job change, or I mean, what do you do with that information?
I think I'm still working on that. Really, my life externally hasn't changed a bunch since then, but my attitude towards how I view the little things has changed a little bit. For instance, one of the things I thought about is when I was many years ago. I was still married, but it was quite a while ago. I remember going to a stake priesthood meeting. It was one of those 7 a.m. Stake meetings,
Yeah.
and for some reason, I remember not being super thrilled to be there. I was there because I was supposed to be, and it was just a general priesthood meeting. It wasn't anything fancy, but and I remember going, and I remember just one of the talks, uh, really kind of rubbing me the wrong way. It was kind of a one of those call to repentance talks that we get occasionally.
Full of shame. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
The guilt trip
And
was
to be
aplenty.
and to be honest, it probably wasn't nearly as bad as I felt. I was probably in a
Right.
bad
Sure.
mood
Yeah.
that morning or something. But uh, and just kind of not really feeling it, and kind of thinking to myself, man, I'm up at 7 a.m. I'm here doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't need I don't need to be read the riot act here. And I kind of forgot about it and moved on. And then later on, the last few years, I've been thinking, and one thing a Wild at Heart helped me realize is that those calls to repentance or those calls to do more are really a call to adventure. I thought about just the concept of ministering in the church. It's something that we all kind of struggle with. It's the eternal battle is how do we do ministering? And I remember thinking to myself and talking to my wife, I think, imagine the life that we could have if we really took that to heart. If ministering really became a part of us, we really took it to heart. Think of the stories we'd be able to tell, when I'm 80 years old and talking to my grandkids, or the adventures you'd get to have, the people you'd get to meet. Um, and so, yeah, it was really kind of just a shift. And like I said, I'm still going through that shift. I'm by no means, 180 degrees different or so much better than I was before, but definitely my attitude towards that adventure and my duties and responsibilities have changed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating because, I think this is worth sort of sitting with and exploring that, because often I'm just thinking of the elders quorum president or the bishop stake president who's listening to this and thinking, because there's such a fine line between the guilt trip message
Yeah,
of, hey, you got to get out there and do ministering, like people are suffering, like go get
yeah,
them, but also this call to adventure, and
yeah,
sometimes we attempt that call to adventure, but it turns into a guilt trip, right? And just thinking in church history, was it the William Martin Handcart Company where like Brigham Young stood up like one general conference and he's like, they're out there, guys, like
yeah,
they're suffering, they're out of food, we're gonna go get them, right? Like
yeah,
this is this moment of call to adventure of like, who's with me, who's gonna load your wagon up and go get them. And for the masculine soul, like that awakens us from, like,
it
we want
resonates.
to
Yeah,
be the person that can go out on the frontier and rescue those who need it, right? Now,
absolutely.
you translate that to a modern day context, and sometimes the need, it's so hidden, right? I mean, so much of the hurt and the struggle is so deep under the surface that it's hard to see, or we make the attempt like, hey, I'm here to rescue you, and they're like, how about you get off my porch, I don't need rescuing, right? Like, or,
Yeah.
but I don't know, it's like we're sitting with that there is a call to adventure that we can offer. The, we're specifically talking about the men in the church, but sometimes it's tricky, and it can
Yeah.
accidentally slip into that guilt trip
Yeah.
context.
That stake priesthood being, that's probably what it was. It probably was a call to adventure that I was too tired to hear or something. But yeah, it is a fine line between, you know, get up and do more and berating people and
Yeah,
inviting them to something bigger.
yeah. So, and maybe we'll come back to these principles. I'm curious, like, again, how? So you're reading Wild at Heart. You're sort of discovering
Yeah.
this adventure. Maybe keep us going on that timeline as far as what you did with that information.
Yeah. So really, I just kind of sat with it for a long time and thought about it. My wife probably heard way too much about what was going on in my in my mind from that. But I'm also I tinker with things. I'm one of those jack of all trade, master of none. I love learning new things and doing little things,
Awesome.
um, but I never become an expert at it. And at this, a couple of years ago, I uh, I wanted to learn a new skill. I didn't know what it was. I just wanted to learn something new, and so I started tinkering around. I liked the idea of like web development and stuff like that. And so I started tinkering around with building a website and doing different things just for kicks and giggles. And then and one of the things I was trying to learn is how do you build an online store? I didn't have anything to sell or do, but I was curious how you did it and what the workings were like that with that and how you do that. And so one of the things I was learning was trying to build like an online store, and I was building it out. I didn't have it, like I said, I didn't have a product to sell, so I was building it out to be like selling the blue light filtering goggles
Oh,
just for fun, just
uh-huh.
and and I can't remember if someone suggested it to me or what, but I thought, why not turn it into a blog or something about all these things I've been thinking about and the things I've been feeling and reading about, and share some of my thoughts, and then maybe you sell a couple T-shirts in the shop or something. And I put it out to I have a group text with some of my brothers and brother-in-law and my dad, and asked, what would you name something if you were to name like a group or a club or something that had this kind of theme to it, this kind of masculinity, calling men to rise up and be better, but also with God as the central focus of that. And my little brother immediately emailed back, Sons of Thunder. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so it just kind of stuck, and I just kind of ran with it. And so I created, that website, and ended up reaching out to other men that I admire, Sean Ray being one of them, to to share some of their thoughts. As I shared kind of what I was thinking, and they would write some blog posts and things for me, and share some things. And so yeah, that's kind of how it came about, and it's been something I wish I was a little more consistent at doing, but it's been a lot of fun and a way to express some of the thoughts I've had.
Yeah. So what's the URL for that?
It's sonsofthunderproject.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so the main purpose is for men to just share different stories, or
You know what? Some of that's still being fleshed out, but yeah.
okay.
So I've reached out to other men who have just shared thoughts that they've had, and it's not necessarily specifically about being men, but topics that relate to men. For instance, there's one about increased love and increased responsibility.
Mhm.
So when we or increased expectations, not responsibility, increased expectations. So when we love someone, our expectations for them are naturally high. If we don't have high expectations for someone, we don't really love them. I had there's a member of our stake presidency actually who's a chaplain in the military and has been for many years, and he wrote one kind of about controlling what we say. Controlling our as men, controlling our tongues. Sometimes things don't need to be said, and how do we balance that with making sure we speak up when we're supposed to. But yeah, so there's a few different things on there that have just been fun. And so yeah, I mean the
That's
direction
cool.
the end goal is still to be determined, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. Allowed me to have some really fun conversations as we have like a booth at the Payson City Town Days, our Onion Days down here, and having different conversations with people
Awesome.
about why the Sons of Thunder and James and John and all that.
Ah, that's great. And you got some cool swag on here as well,
Yeah,
shirts
yeah,
and
there's some
hats
good
and things.
stuff.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. That's really cool. So, and there's a few things I just want to underscore here is that first of all, like nobody called you to do this, right? This isn't like
no,
your
no,
elders quorum president sat you down. I mean, you're the elders quorum president, I guess,
right,
but a church leader sent you down and say we need to do this, right? And this
no,
is this is part of the adventure, right? That it's not
yeah,
necessarily that we've even been asked to do it, but there's sort of this rumbling in our soul a little bit where, and
yeah,
this happens with so many men. Like if you sit down with a man at lunch or in a casual setting and really drill down, you'll discover these things of like, I always thought I would do such and such, or
yeah,
I always saw myself going back to school, or
yep,
that MBA has sort of been calling me. I should really go back to school and get that MBA. Like there's so many examples of it, or something like this. Like I just felt this call to put out a call,
yeah,
to other men and start resonating with them through the Sons of Thunder. Right.
yeah. It's been
So
fun.
that's cool.
Sure.
That's cool. Um, so the main idea is this is sort of a rallying point. It sounds like. I mean,
Yeah,
for other men to just come together, and and you blog on here as well, not just you
yeah,
but others share
yeah,
thoughts or perspectives as far as maybe some
yeah.
principles that will resonate with other men.
Right, absolutely. Like it's non-denominational. It started out
Okay.
kind of non-denominational, but
Uh-huh.
what I found as I was going through, like 90% of my experiences and my perspective, or I guess 100% of my perspective, comes from being a member of the church when it
Yeah.
comes to involving God, and so it's really kind of leaned. Um, I'm not shy about the fact that I'm a member, and that's kind of come through a lot. That's kind of leaned that way just naturally, but
So I'm curious. You're currently an elders quorum president, like I said, right?
yeah.
How long you been the elders quorum president?
Not quite a year. So
Oh
probably
wow,
9 months. I think June or July will be a year.
nice. Is this your first go at it, or have you had
This
other?
is this is my very first go. I haven't been around the elders quorum for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So
Maybe how would you describe the dynamics of your elders quorum? I mean, it's Payson, Utah, pretty
yeah,
established Latter-day Saint community, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, anything out of the ordinary for a Utah Payson ward?
We have I think one of the most engaged elders quorums that I've been a part of, and it's been
Mm,
really cool. My job is really easy with the group. Like I said, my wife and I, since we've been married, have been in tons of different wards. Especially in our early years of marriage, we moved around a bunch, and this one has been uh, refreshingly engaged. It's
mm,
really cool. Our elders quorum instructors are fantastic. The engagement by the men is really good. So yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's unique. I think it's unique in my experience to have a group that's this engaged and gets along so well.
nice.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
All right, I want to lean into that a little bit here. So,
Okay.
I mean, and I don't know. I'm curious, like these principles or concepts you've explored through the Sons of Thunder project. Like, how does that show up in your elders quorum?
That's a great question. So really, there is a desire among our elders quorum. It feels, at least the majority of the members, to be involved and to be engaged and to do something.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't say it's all of them, but there's enough that the rest of the group kind of comes along, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been really good that way. Just a lot of good guys that aren't afraid to get their hands dirty and get
Yeah.
involved.
So, is there anything like how would you describe your general approach as being elders quorum there? I mean, is there as far as running the meetings or connecting the group or anything come to mind?
I don't know that there is really. I've been blessed with. We have one elders quorum instructor right now that's just phenomenal.
Hmm.
And then we try to do a lot of visits, and we've focused a lot on ministering interviews, just making contact
Yeah.
with the men in the ward, and that's been huge and really good. But as far as how we lead meetings and how we do things, I don't know that there's anything specific. I know for me, and I mean, my approach, it's just I've shifted my focus to be more like this is an adventure for me. Going and knocking on someone's door that maybe I've never met and should have met,
Hmm.
or Some of those things that maybe may have felt awkward or still do feel awkward. Um, Now it's part of the adventure,
Yeah.
right? We get to go and we don't know what's going to happen at the doorstep, but it might be something awesome.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's, it is an adventure a lot of
Yeah, it
time,
is.
right? Especially when you don't know who they are or whether they're
Yeah,
going to be happy to see you or not.
right.
And I'm curious with this instructor in your elders quorum, is there anything specific he does? Is he just a charismatic guy or like,
He's a pretty charismatic guy. He's not afraid to ask very direct questions and
mhm,
kind of sit in it. He asks
yeah.
really good questions, and then he's not afraid to dig deeper on things, and engage people. And some of it is that people have been willing to engage. We kind
Mhm,
of have that image in our mind, or at least I did. I spent a lot of time out of the elders quorum with the young men. I had the kind of image in my mind of the teacher asks something and there's silence, and there's five guys in the back that are on their phones and two others asleep. Um, but we get some really good engagement, and that leads to deeper things, and it's helped us come closer as a quorum, I think.
nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anything as far as that comes to mind as far as how you work with your counselors, or do you have a regular presidency meeting, or do you
Yeah.
share responsibilities in a certain way?
Yeah. So years ago, I was just my wife and I were newly married. I was called to be the young men's president, uh, and I had a chance to talk with the gentleman that was leaving, who was the young men's president I was replacing. And I thought he was just phenomenal. I'd currently been in the priest quorum as an advisor, and I remember asking him. I was kind of in awe of him and how well he seemed to run the young men's program then. And I kind of asked him, like, how do you do it? Like, what's kind of the secret sauce as I step into this for the first time as a young kid? And I remember him saying, you have to hold your meetings, your regular meetings. And I thought about that a lot and have had other callings since. And I really come to lean on that. Even if you don't have anything to talk about, or you don't think you do, having a consistent, regular meeting where you touch base and you identify needs, or just kind of chat for a few minutes and see how things are going with your presidency, it makes a huge difference. And so we've tried to do that. We regularly hold presidency meetings. We hold presidency meetings every other Sunday morning, and then on every Wednesday we go out on visits. We go knock doors or make appointments and go visit
Yeah.
members of the ward.
Yeah. And anything worth mentioning as far like with these visits, does that involve some of the like ministering interview responsibilities and things, or how do you approach those visits?
Yeah. So the ministering interviews are usually separate. We kind of schedule those um, separately. The visits can be to people that we're having trouble getting to come in for a ministering interview. We may try to do that. A lot of it are members that have come up in ward council, or people that may have specific needs. For instance, we had a new member that moved into our ward and needed a help getting a couch downstairs, and we heard about it from a member of the bishopric, and so that became our Wednesday meeting. We went over to meet the new guy, and we moved a couch for him, and stuff
Nice.
like that. One of our goals was we wanted to have some sort of face-to-face interaction with every elder in the ward, active or inactive, everyone that was on the records. And so we've been taking around birthday cards as their birthdays come up. We take around a birthday card just so we have some sort of interaction. And
Wow.
there have been some really positive experiences with that. Members that have been inactive that I'd never met before after 4 years being in the ward, never met. That actually invited us in, and we had a great chat with them. Some of them just kind of take it, and you can tell they kind of want you to get off their porch. But most of it's been really good. Really
So
good.
birthday cards. Is
Yeah.
this like do you get out the crayons and create your own birthday card, or like tell me
No.
how that works?
So I just ordered a box of generic birthday cards on
Love it.
Amazon, 100 some odd
They got
birthday
everything.
cards. Yeah. But it is hard to find ones that aren't girly, that aren't really
Hey,
kind of
there needs to
feminine.
be a Sons of Thunder
Yeah,
line
maybe
of
a Sunday
happy
Thunder
birthday
birthday
cards, man.
card. Yeah. Yeah, that
That'd
that
be
did take
awesome.
me a while, and the ones we got are still maybe not feminine, but they're pretty juvenile. Just those big crayon letters on the front, "Happy Birthday," and we just write a little note inside and sign it for them. But
I love it. I
yeah,
love it.
it's been good, and it gives you an opportunity to meet people in a kind of a less awkward way. You're just like,
Yeah,
hey, we heard it's your birthday this week. We want to come say hi and drop off birthday
that's
card.
cool. Yeah, I mean, and it's so simple.
Yeah,
That's what I love
yeah.
about it.
I actually learned that I had a bishop. I served in his bishopric a few years back, and he made a point. I was so impressed by this. By himself, not as a member of the bishopric or anything else, just by himself, he took a candy bar to every member of the ward on record, I believe from age 8 up, uh, every year. Yeah,
Again, so easy, right? Because I
so
mean, with
easy.
I think the Relief Society, they're more of like my wife would be like, I'm going to whip up a pan of brownies, and I'm like, oh, like it's like a lot, Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
bake some brownies, but I don't know. And so for men, it's like, yeah, you don't even need a treat, just like do
Nope,
a birthday card. But
just
if
something
you do take a
simple.
treat, yeah, grab a candy bar at the
Yeah,
store.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's
but
a lot simpler than we think, but yeah, sometimes just that the activation or just getting started is it's
yeah.
just hard.
All right. Any other like nuanced little things you do like that probably seem like no big deal to you, but or maybe unique?
We hold an annual men's retreat
Okay,
in
now we're
here.
getting somewhere. Here we go.
So I started that when I was in the bishopric before this calling. So kind of, but I was having these thoughts, right, of manhood and masculinity, and it'd been a few wards since we'd ever had a fathers and sons or done anything. And as I talked to, with in our bishopric with the bishop and the clerks and stuff, I said, "What do you guys think about doing a fathers and sons again? I think it's important for men to get out and be together and interact and do something, kind of tough and masculine and camp and have a fire and let the kids light sticks and stuff."
Yeah.
Um, and they thought it was a good idea, but one of the clerks mentioned, he said, one of the reservations I've had is that he only has daughters. He said, I kind of feel awkward going to fathers and sons because I only have daughters. And there was the thought about, um, suggested maybe we do just a dad and kids thing. And I thought it was like
Uh-huh.
kind of defeats, like, I want to get men out. I want to get men specifically out.
Yeah.
And so it turned into a men's retreat. We'll have our third one this year, but we go out. We try to keep it somewhere close by. We're blessed to be able to do that down here. There's some pretty nearby places to camp, and we hang out. We have food, and we have a devotional that night. We talk about different things, and yeah, we play games and just kind of hang out and just be guys for a while. It's just a quick
Nice.
overnight kind of thing, but it's been a lot of fun.
I bet there's some good unity that comes from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Wow. And again, very simple, right?
Yeah,
You don't
nothing
need to.
fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love it. Cool. Anything else that your secrets to success there as Elder Score President?
I think so. Nothing really. We've had really good success using group messaging, like via WhatsApp or GroupMe, rather than
Oh,
the
really?
old email thing. That's helped.
Like the entire quorum?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was really surprised. I thought we'd get a lot of pushback on it, people not wanting to add a new app to their phone or do something else. But it's made my life a lot easier when we have move-ins, move-outs that with short notice. You send out a quick message and usually get really good response from there. And our elders quorum instructor, he sends out the lesson and some thoughts in advance. And hey, we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to be asking these kind of questions. And it's been a lot of fun. People asking to borrow tools and everything else. It's worked
Nice.
out. It's worked out pretty well. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, just a simple system. And there are things like GroupMe that you can download the app or you can
Yeah.
just use text, right?
Right.
So there's ways if you do get pushback around that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that casual, especially in 2024, right? There's just people are you more used to that maybe like the
Yeah.
text. They'll step into any text message feed as
Yeah.
long as they can step out.
Yeah. And I
Nobody
can't.
likes to get caught in the.
Yeah, and I could see how it could get a little overwhelming, and we try not to overwhelm people with messages because, yeah, we all have a lot going on, and having your phone ping all the time because Dave down the road needs a wrench or something can be
Yeah,
rough. But it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's worked out pretty well for us.
Awesome. So you'd recommend people read Wild at Heart.
Absolutely. I keep
Cool.
extra copies to give out to people at my house
Yeah,
because
that's
it's been
cool.
a big deal.
Yeah. Now, and as I've said before, like, it's written by John Eldridge, who's
Mhm.
evangelical, and so there are some
Right.
doctrinal points
Yeah.
you just have to wave past. But
Yep.
again, generally speaking, it's a great sound resource that
Right.
I've man, it has impacted my life, and I've heard over and over the lives it's impacted, and it's just
Yeah.
like a good like I'm just thinking like that newly called elders quorum president who's just like, all right, where do I start? Like, how do I even
Yeah.
begin to tap into the heart of a man?
Yeah.
and it's a good place to gain some perspective and be like, okay, like maybe I don't understand it totally, but I kind of have a starting place here. I can lean in and maybe help
Absolutely.
some men.
It
So
definitely it definitely kind of, for me at least, opened up my thought process where I pursued a lot more. I started looking a lot deeper to see, what am I missing, or what is there out there for
yeah.
me. So it opened up a lot of that.
Awesome. Well, and I encourage people to check out maybe or tell them where to go to remind them again where to go to check out more Sons of Thunder
Yeah,
stuff.
just sonsofthunderproject.com. And yeah, we're always looking for people with great experiences, or even without great experiences, guys that want to share their thoughts or
Mhm.
everything's not on that aspect of it.
All right, Aaron. Last question I have for you is: as you look back on your time as a leader in the church, how has being a leader helped you become a better follower of Jesus Christ?
Um, I think it has helped me realize how individual the gospel is. As we function our capacities as leaders, I think one of the things I've noticed most is how aware our Heavenly Father is of individual circumstances and individual needs.
Hmm.
And it's helped me better engage with those things that are right in front of me, like the needs of my family, and Lord, knowing that the gospel is very, very personal and very individual. There's a lot of good group things that come with it, but our Heavenly Father knows us specifically. And so it gives me kind of an excitement and a drive to follow my Savior, knowing that He cares about me, and I know He cares about me because I've seen Him care about so many other people through opportunities to lead.